guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Hannah. I read mostly historical fiction, fantasy, and romance, and today we are going to be picking out my February TBR from my little TBR mug here. I have added a couple of new prompts to this, so hopefully we'll get some fun and interesting things. Last month's TBR didn't go the best, I'm not gonna lie. I read a solid 0 out of 6, but I know why. I know why this TBR didn't work out, and I don't think it spells doom for the rest of the TBR, for like the rest of the year. So I'm gonna keep doing them. And if this month's TBR doesn't work out, then maybe we'll reconsider. I am in the middle of reading one and I did Softy Enough another, so there's not like total failure, but it's mostly failure. Again, I love filming these videos. I think this one could be a little bit more successful. I think I have a little bit more of a strategy, and so we will go into this with high hopes. Without further ado, let's get started. All right, we're gonna pick 6 prompts just like last time. Nothing's different. Like I said, I did add a few more in here, so hopefully we get something new. All right, this is the first one. Okay. And it is a book with my favorite trope. Now, my favorite trope is best friends to lovers. I love when there's like already an established relationship at the beginning of the book that's not romantic, but is a friendship. My romance shelf is right here. I believe we have maybe 1 or 2 options. I'm not sure if Forever Never by Lucy Score, I just got this one, is one. You don't fall for your brother's high school sweetheart, your boss's daughter, or your ex-wife's best friend. Oh, okay. It says it's a long, complicated history punctuated by fights, friendship, family, and an attraction that strains his iron willpower. So I guess this could count as a friends to lovers, kind of like a old friends to lovers, like they were friends and they fell out, or they just lost each other. So we're gonna consider this one. I'm gonna put it in. Maybe slightly cheating, maybe a little bit of a stretch of the friends to lovers trope, but it's close enough for me. Next option that I have is Final Offer by Lauren Asher. This would be a good one because it would mean I would be completing a series and I could move on to her other series, which is The Lakefront Billionaires. I don't know if I really want to read this. I know that this is also kind of the same thing as Forever Never, where they used to be best friends and now they've kind of fallen out. Or they used to be lovers and now they've fallen out. Close enough for me personally. But it's also, I don't know. I just don't know if I really love Lauren Asher's writing, and I have to be in a particular mood to want to read Lauren Asher's writing, and I don't know if I'm in that particular mood right now. And I think that if I don't go into it in the right mood, I'm not going to like the book. Do I have any other options? No. Okay, so between these two, I think I'm gonna go with Forever Never by Lucy Score. This would be my first Lucy Score book, so I am excited about this. It is quite long. I don't know. I don't think it'll bother me too much. I think that if it's like really grinding on me to read this physically, I can just switch over to my Kindle and it'll feel a lot faster. So I think that's gonna be the first book on the February TBR, Forever Never by Lucy Score. Oh, and it says on the front, she'll always be his problem. Oh, that's like kind of cute. All right, we're gonna pick the next prompt. I'm hoping for a nonfiction. I said that last month and I didn't get it, and I'm just hoping that, you know, there's a little more mercy this month. Okay. Oh, okay. This one says, a book that I think will make me cry. Okay. That's kind of a tough one, but I do have some options, so let me grab them real quick and I will be right back. Okay, I've got 3 options here. 2 of them are by the same author, and one of them is not, clearly. I could have put Redeeming 6 on here as well. I don't know if you can see it in the camera, but I could have put Redeeming 6 on this list. However, I feel like I would need to reread Saving 6, and I'm not gonna get to a reread this month. It's not in the cards. I can feel it in my soul that it's not in the cards. Okay, so our first option is One for My Enemy by Olivia Blake. This is a standalone urban fantasy set in modern day Manhattan, featuring 2 rival criminal empires, and they all have magic. So magic is somewhere in there involved. I've heard this is kind of a Romeo and Juliet retelling. I'm not sure how accurate that is, but it is a standalone, so that's great. That has that's something going for it in my mind. And I also haven't read anything by Olivia Blake, even though I have 2 books by her on my shelf. So it would be great to kind of get into her work and see what I think about it. So this is definitely a contender. Obviously the cover, gorgeous. The book itself is gorgeous. And if I'm correct, yes, she has art in her books. I don't know if it's just throughout. Oh yes. Character art. A point to her. I think this would be good. I think that honestly, this is a really strong contender. I think it'll make me cry simply because of that Romeo and Juliet aspect. Obviously, that is a tragedy. So we'll see. The next ones are both by the same author, and I feel like this is an author that like universally is just like will write things just to make you cry. So that is R.F. Kuang. So I have Babel here by R.F. Kuang and The Poppy War by R.F. Kuang. This one is a standalone kind of fantasy. It's got some magic in it, but it's also historical fiction, and I'm actually not sure too much what this is about. I know that translation and the academic side of translation does feature heavily, but I'm not sure where the plot is going, starting, ending, none of that. I picked it up simply because I've heard so much about this book. I've heard it's literally changed the way that people think, and I want to know what they're talking about. My biggest concern with this book and reading this book this month is that if I'm not in the mood for it, I don't know that I will pick up on as much as I want to. And I also just really want to take my time with this book. I don't want it to be something that I feel like needs to be rushed through or feel like I need to pick up because of the TBR. So I'm kind of unsure about this one. I mean, it's still a contender, but it's not as strong. One for My Enemy is definitely edging that one out. And then obviously The Poppy War. The only thing with The Poppy War is that it's built for emotional turmoil. Like, I don't think anyone's gotten out of the Poppy War trilogy unscathed. I will not be the exception to that. And also because it is a trilogy, I feel like that is, again, a level of commitment that I'm not sure I want to give if I don't have to right now, because I'm already in the middle of so many series. And I think because of those reasons, I am going to go with One for My Enemy by Olivia Blake. I'm actually very excited. I think that this one will be really, really good, and it's been sitting on my shelf for a while, so it's about time. All right, we are gonna go for our third prompt. Ooh, okay. Let's see. I don't think I've... Oh, this is so perfect. Okay. A book with cozy vibes. Oh, that's nice. Okay, so we've had like something that'll make me cry, and then we're picking something that will give me joy. Perfect. Let me grab options. Okay, so we do have 3 possibilities here that personally just give me cozy vibes. May not be the same for you, but you know, this is what's doing it for me. First up, we have Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies. This is the definition, I think, of cozy. This is a fantasy, and I think she's like an academic trying to document fairy folklore. Let me see. Yes, she's trying to study fairy folklore and discovers dark fae magic, friendship, and love in the hot start of a heartwarming and enchanting new fantasy series. Cons of this book is that it's the start of a series, so again, commitment, trying to kind of release myself from adding more series to my TBR. However, what it has going for it is that fits the prompt so well, and also that it is kind of would give me the chance to dip into a new subgenre that I haven't tried yet, which is cozy fantasy. And I think that this is probably the best place to start with that. I know no, it's not the Pumpkin Spice Cafe because that's a romance. What's the other one? Oh, Legends and Lattes is another one that's like a cozy fantasy, and I just had no interest in that. So definitely I feel like the pros are outweighing the cons, but we're still gonna look at these other options. Another option is A Winter's Promise, which we had on the TBR last month and I didn't get to. This, I believe, is a middle grade, so it's cozy because I feel like middle grade is just usually pretty cozy. I don't feel like you have the extent of tragedy and sorrow that sometimes you see in adult fantasy. Plus the blue is just comforting. I don't know, the blue of the cover is just comforting. I don't know if that makes sense to literally anyone, but it is. So I'm hoping that this is as cozy as it looks. However, I'm not sure. And honestly, I've kind of lost my desire to read it. If you hear that in the background, that is train. I'm so sorry. I unfortunately cannot control the train and it will go on for like 5 minutes. So Sorry about that. But anyways, yes, I'm not sure that this is really the one that I want to pick up, considering that it was on my TBR and I didn't read it. And I had no interest in reading it either. Like, I looked at it all month and was like, yeah, no. And then the final option that I have is I was gonna say the front runner, it's not. Off to the Races by Elsie Silver. This is the first book in the Gold Rush Ranch series, which is the prequel series to the Chestnut Springs series, also by her. And this just gives cozy because the cowboy romance is almost always cozy. And it also would not be too much of a commitment, so that's a pro because it is part of an interconnected standalone series and you can just read those whenever you like. You do not have to remember a whole lot from the books previous to enjoy the next ones. So that has something going for it. So I think the real options are between Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies and Off to the Races by Elsie Silver. And out of these two, despite my reservations, I think that Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies fits the prompt far more. It's just too perfect. It's too perfect for the prompt. So we are gonna go with Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies by Heather Fawcett for prompt number 3. All right, guys, we're halfway through. Let's pick our 4th prompt. Okay, this one's like been through the ringer. I don't even know how that got like that. Okay, awesome. This is a BIPOC author, so a book by a BIPOC author. I don't know if you know, I don't know how like globally Black History Month is celebrated, but at least here in the US, Black History Month is in February. So this is a perfect time to pick up The Mayor of Maxwell Street by Avery Cunningham. This is I believe a debut novel, and it is set in 1920 Chicago. It follows the daughter of the wealthiest Black family in America at the time, and it follows a young man who has kind of risen in the ranks of Chicago's underground criminal empire. And I'm just gonna read you this last part because I think it'll summarize it a lot better than what I can summarize it for it, and that is: trapped between the monolith of Jim Crow, the inflexible world of the Black upper class, and the violence of Prohibition-era Chicago, Jay and Nellie work together and stoke the flames of a love worth fighting for. So there's got a little bit of romance, it's historical fiction, and this book has been sitting on my shelf for quite a while, so I am eager to get to it. Also a standalone, point in its favor, so yeah, I think that was an easy one. We're gonna go with The Mayor of Maxwell Street by Avery Cunningham. All right, 5th prompt, second to last. We are almost there. Oh, which I got 2 here. I think we're gonna do this one because this one's kind of latched onto my finger a little bit. All right, upside down. I don't think we're gonna get that nonfiction, guys. Okay, so a book by a new to me author, so someone that I have not read yet. That's actually, there's a lot of options for this, so I can kind of go how I want, which is a great thing. So let me grab some options and I'll be right back. All right, we are back. I've got 3 options here. I tried to narrow it down kind of as much as possible because I don't want to be overwhelming anyone with like 6 different options that we're going through. First option that I have is What Moves the Dead by T. Kingfisher. Never read a T. Kingfisher book. They have a very long backlist and never picked it up. Want to read it, especially Paladin's Quest or Paladin's Grace. There's like a Paladin series that they have put out that I want to read, but I got this one because I heard some good things about it. It would be a foray into horror for me. It's pretty short, so wouldn't take me too long. It's not too much of a commitment. There is a second book, but again, it is novella sized, so not too much of a commitment. I did kind of want to read this around Halloween time, but I didn't get around to it, and I have so much horror on my just TBR in general that I feel like I can read something outside of Halloween time that gives Halloween vibes. So What Moves the Dead by T. Kingfisher. Next one that I have is The Silence Factory by Bridget Collins. This is a historical fiction / mystery, I believe. And I'm just going to read you this little blurb. A captivating story of gothic suspense about a powerful family, the magical and dangerous silk their fortune is built upon, and the exploitative history they are desperately trying to hide. It's set in like the 1820s and a little bit beyond. What really gets me, what really drew me in to this book was the cover, but also the back says silence is sanity. And for whatever reason, that just draws me in. Like, that is such a captivating, mysterious sentence. So The Silence Factory by Bridget Collins, definitely an option. All right, for our final option for this particular prompt, I have Heartless Hunter by Kristen Cicerelli. This is a romantasy, very popular on Book Talk especially, but also BookTube. And I've been meaning to read this for a while. I just haven't had the best of luck with romantasy lately. I read One Dark Window and didn't love it. And what else did I read that I was like, there was something else that I read where I was like, I don't know, guys, I'm not like particularly feeling it, but I've heard so many good things about this and it's been sitting on my shelf. It would be an apt time to read it since the sequel is coming out. I think it would be also pretty quick to get through, so that's what it has going for it. I think it would just be like fun. I wouldn't really have to think too much about it. Whereas these other ones, I kind of feel like I would want to sit with the words a little bit, if that makes any sense. Plus, this is an enemies to lovers situation. Do I get myself into another series? Luckily, it's only a duology, so it wouldn't be too much of a commitment. I think I'm gonna go with Heartless Hunter by Kristen Cicerelli, and I think I'm gonna go with it just because, I don't know, I need something quick, easy, and this is giving that. All right, guys, this is the final prompt. I think the TBR is looking so good. I'm actually very excited to read so many of these books. Still hoping and praying for that nonfiction. I want a nonfiction. It just won't come to me. It doesn't want me to read it. All right, final prompt. Oh, okay. Guys, I told you series are just unavoidable on my bookshelf. It's a science fiction. A science fiction, and I really only have 2 options for a science fiction on my shelf. Not looking great, but we'll grab them anyways. We're gonna pick between them. All right, so these are my 2 options. I've never started and finished a science fiction. Actually, that's not true. I read, what was it? The woman who wrote Renegades, that YA superhero fantasy. I read the series that she wrote prior to that with all of the mechanical Disney princess retellings, I guess. I read that, and that did have some science fiction elements to it, but beyond that, I've never read a science fiction and completed it. I tried Dune. That was tough. That was a rough entry into science fiction, and I DNF'd it within 100 pages. So the first option that I have is Red Rising by Pierce Brown. This is a very, very popular science fiction series. I've seen a lot of people get into the science fiction genre using this series. It does say that it's the first of a trilogy, but I've seen at least 5 books in the Barnes & Noble section. I think my biggest concern with this is that it is such a commitment. It would be a very, very long series that I would have to commit to. And I don't know if I really want to do that. However, I did read the first 3 chapters. I really enjoyed them. I just couldn't add on to what I was already reading at the time. And I've seen the fan art for this, and it's literally some of the most gorgeous fan art that I've seen in a long time. So it definitely has that going for it. It feels very epic. And the next and final option that we have for this particular prompt is The Blinded Stars by Megan E. O'Keefe. This is, I believe, oh yes, a widescreen space opera trilogy following a revolutionary and an heir to the dynasty. Not sure what the dynasty is, but he's heir to a dynasty. And I would imagine that they work together in some way. I got this recommendation from Carrie Can Read, and I saw it at a bookstore and picked it up. It looks really good. It looks really, really good. However, I am reading a epic fantasy right now in the Daevabad trilogy, and so that the amount of knowledge that you have to keep in your head and keep character straight and the world building straight and everything straight, the amount of mind energy that takes is pretty extensive, and I do enjoy the process of that. But after you finish one, you're like, okay, I just need something that's like brings that down a little bit of a notch. I don't think that the Red Rising book is going to not give me that. I think both of them are that, but I think in terms of what's more intimidating to me and what I think I will actually pick up throughout the month or have more of a chance of picking up throughout the month, I think it's gonna have to be Red Rising by Pierce Brown. Definitely a commitment, but it just feels like the length isn't as intimidating to me as in The Blinded Stars. And right now, with these 700-page tomes that I'm currently reading, I just need something that's a little shorter, you know what I mean? I don't feel like that's a bad thing. So we're gonna go with Red Rising by Pierce Brown. All right, guys, so this is our February TBR. I'm gonna go through them a little bit rapid fire just to review. So we have, obviously, we just picked out Red Rising by Pierce Brown, Heartless Hunter by Kristen Cicerelli, The Mayor of Maxwell Street by Avery Cunningham, Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies by Heather Fawcett, One for My Enemy by Olivia Blake, and Forever Never by Lucy Score. Hopefully this TBR will be way more successful than my January one. I definitely have a lot more hope for it than I did for my January one. There's a lot more standalones on this that I can just kind of pick up and read and not have to worry about committing. And that gives me time to focus on the trilogy that I am reading now and the other trilogy that I just started. Well, you'll hear more about it in my wrap up. But for now, I hope that you enjoyed this video. Next week will be my wrap up and we'll talk about everything that I read in January. And yeah, so thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed and I will see you very soon next time.